Marcus Chen had built data flow solutions from the ground up over 15 years, transforming it from a two-person startup into a thriving tech company with over 200 employees. Despite the company's success, he prided himself on staying connected to every level of the organization. As CFO and co-founder, he could have easily remained in his corner office on the executive floor, but Marcus believed that understanding his employees' real experiences was crucial to making informed financial and operational decisions. That's why he found himself standing in the employee cafeteria at 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, wearing jeans and a plain button-down shirt instead of his usual tailored suit. For the past 2 weeks, Marcus had been conducting what he privately called his undercover observations, spending time in different departments, listening to conversations, and watching how the company actually functioned beyond the polished reports that crossed his desk. The cafeteria buzzed with the usual lunchtime energy. Groups of software engineers debated coding frameworks while picking at salads. Marketing team members scrolled through social media campaigns between bites of sandwiches, and the administrative staff chatted about weekend plans. Marcus positioned himself at a table near the cash register, pretending to review documents on his tablet while actually observing the flow of employees through the lunch line. Sarah Williams had been working the cashier station for 8 months. At 26, she had an easy smile and genuine warmth that made even the grumpiest employees brighten when they reached her register. She remembered people's usual orders, asked about family members they'd mentioned in passing, and somehow managed to keep the lunch line moving efficiently even during the busiest periods. Marcus had noticed her before during his regular cafeteria visits, always impressed by her professionalism and positive attitude. What he noticed today, however, was different. While every other employee in the cafeteria was eating lunch, Sarah remained at her post. She had a small water bottle and occasionally sipped from it, but there was no food in sight. Marcus initially assumed she was taking a later lunch break, but as he continued his observations over the next hour, Sarah never left her station. When the lunch rush died down around 1:30 p.m., she began cleaning and organizing the register area, still with no sign of eating anything. The next day, Marcus returned to his inconspicuous cafeteria table. Again, Sarah worked through the entire lunch period without eating. This time, Marcus stayed until 2:15 p.m. and watched as Sarah finally took a 15-minute break. Instead of going to the food line, she walked outside to the parking lot. Curious, Marcus followed at a distance and saw her get into an older Honda Civic. Through the window, he could see her making a phone call while eating what appeared to be a peanut butter sandwich she'd brought from home. By the third day, Marcus's concern had shifted from casual observation to genuine worry. He knew from HR records that Sarah was a single mother, but he didn't know the details of her situation. The fact that she was consistently skipping meals while surrounded by subsidized food began to paint a troubling picture. Data Flow Solutions offered employees lunch at cost at typically around $4 or $5 for a full meal as part of their benefits package. For most employees, this was a convenient perk. For someone in Sarah's position, Marcus realized, even that modest cost might be a significant expense. On Thursday, Marcus decided to take a more direct approach. He waited until the lunch rush had ended and most employees had returned to their desks. Sarah was wiping down tables when he approached the counter. "Excuse me," he said, maintaining his casual appearance. "I'm Marcus, from the finance department. I've been eating lunch here pretty regularly, and I couldn't help but notice that you never seem to take a break to eat. I hope everything's okay." Sarah looked up, her practiced customer service smile flickering for just a moment before returning full force. "Oh, that's very kind of you to notice, Marcus. I'm fine, really. I just prefer to eat later in the day. Some people are breakfast people, some are lunch people. I guess I'm more of an early dinner person." Her explanation was delivered smoothly, but Marcus caught the slight tension in her voice and the way she avoided making direct eye contact. In his years of analyzing financial statements and conducting business negotiations, he'd developed a keen sense for when numbers didn't add up, and something about Sarah's response felt incomplete. "That makes sense," Marcus replied gently. "I just wanted to make sure you knew about all the employee benefits. Sometimes the communication about what's available isn't as clear as it should be." "I appreciate that," Sarah said, her smile becoming more genuine. "The company has been really good to me. This job means a lot to my family." That evening, Marcus found himself unable to concentrate on the quarterly budget projections spread across his home office desk. Instead, he kept thinking about Sarah's words, "This job means a lot to my family." There was something in the way she'd said it that suggested layers of meaning beyond the obvious. Unable to let it go, Marcus did something he'd never done before in his executive role. He accessed Sarah's employment file. What he found confirmed his growing suspicions and deepened his concern. Sarah had been hired as a temporary employee during data flow's busy season the previous fall, then converted to part-time permanent status in January. Her position included basic health insurance but no paid time off or other benefits. Her hourly wage was $16, which in their high cost of living city was barely enough to cover basic expenses. More telling was her emergency contact information. Listed was Emma Williams, daughter, age 7, with a note that Emma had type 1 diabetes and required special medical attention. A school phone number was listed as the primary contact during business hours. The pieces of the puzzle began falling into place for Marcus. Sarah wasn't just skipping lunch as a personal preference or even due to general financial constraints. She was making a calculated decision to save every possible dollar to support her daughter's medical needs. The few dollars she could save each day by not buying lunch might seem trivial to most people, but for a single mother managing a chronic illness on a part-time income, those dollars could be the difference between affording insulin or missing a crucial prescription. Marcus spent that night researching type 1 diabetes management costs. The numbers were staggering. Even with insurance, families could easily spend hundreds of dollars monthly on testing supplies, medications, and specialist visits. For someone in Sarah's financial situation, these costs would consume a significant portion of her income, leaving little room for expenses that might seem basic to others, like buying lunch at work. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the office with a new perspective and a plan that had been forming in his mind since 3 a.m. However, he knew that approaching this situation required delicacy. Sarah had her dignity, and any help would need to be offered in a way that preserved her sense of independence and avoided embarrassment. His first step was to schedule a meeting with Jennifer Lopez, the head of human resources. Jennifer had been with the company for 6 years and had a reputation for both discretion and creative problem-solving when it came to employee issues. "I need to discuss a potential policy change," Marcus told Jennifer, settling into the chair across from her desk. "I've been reviewing our part-time employee benefits package, and I think we might be missing some opportunities to better support our team members." Jennifer leaned forward with interest. As HR director, she was always advocating for enhanced employee benefits, though she often met resistance when proposals required significant budget increases. "What did you have in mind?" she asked. "I'm thinking about our cafeteria subsidy program," Marcus continued. "Right now, we offer discounted meals to all employees, but I wonder if we should consider a tiered system. Perhaps free lunch vouchers for employees below certain income thresholds, or during particularly busy periods when people are putting in extra hours." Jennifer nodded thoughtfully. "That's an interesting approach. It would certainly help some of our lower-paid employees, and it might actually boost morale and productivity if people aren't worrying about meal costs during long workdays." Exactly, Marcus agreed. And from a purely financial standpoint, the cost to the company would be minimal compared to the potential benefits. Better nutrition leads to better performance, fewer sick days, higher retention rates. The ROI could be quite strong. What Marcus didn't mention was that he had already run the numbers and was prepared to personally fund the program if necessary. The total cost for providing free lunch vouchers to all part-time employees earning below a certain threshold would be less than $15,000 annually, a rounding error in Dataflow's budget, but potentially life-changing for employees like Sarah. "I'll put together a proposal," Jennifer said. "How quickly would you want to implement something like this?" "Yesterday," Marcus replied with a slight smile. "But I understand these things take time to do properly. Could we maybe start with a pilot program? Perhaps identify a few employees who might benefit and offer them a temporary meal allowance while we work out the broader policy details?" Jennifer studied Marcus's expression, clearly sensing there was more to this sudden interest in cafeteria subsidies than he was sharing. "Marcus, is there a specific situation that's prompting this?" Marcus paused, weighing how much to reveal. "Let's just say I've become aware that some of our team members are making sacrifices that go beyond what we might expect, and I think we have an opportunity to make a meaningful difference in their lives with relatively minimal expense." "I see," Jennifer said, and Marcus could tell she understood that he wasn't going to provide more specific details. "Why don't I draft a memo about a new employee nutrition support program that we can implement immediately for qualifying employees? I can identify candidates based on income and family situation without mentioning anyone by name." "That sounds perfect," Marcus agreed. "And Jennifer? I'd like this to be handled with complete discretion. The last thing we want is for anyone to feel singled out or embarrassed." 2 days later, Sarah arrived at work to find a sealed envelope in her employee mailbox. Inside was a letter from Human Resources explaining that Dataflow Solutions was launching a new employee nutrition support program designed to ensure all team members had access to healthy meals during their workdays. As someone who qualified based on income and family status, Sarah was being offered unlimited free lunch vouchers for the next 6 months, with the possibility of extension based on the program's success. The letter emphasized that this was a company-wide initiative, not charity, and that her selection was based solely on eligibility criteria that applied to multiple employees. It also mentioned that feedback about the program would be valuable for determining its future implementation. Marcus happened to be in the cafeteria the following day when Sarah came through the lunch line for the first time in months. He watched as she selected a full meal, a soup, salad, a sandwich, and fruit, then approached the register with what appeared to be nervous excitement. When the cashier, Sarah was covering a different shift, scanned her voucher and said no charge, Sarah's smile was radiant. From his observation post, Marcus saw Sarah find a quiet table and eat slowly, as if savoring every bite. Halfway through her meal, she pulled out her phone and took a picture of her plate, then typed what appeared to be a text message. Marcus imagined she was sharing this small victory with someone who would understand its significance, perhaps her daughter Emma, or maybe her mother or a close friend. The program proved to be even more successful than Marcus had anticipated. Within a month, Jennifer reported that the 5 employees initially selected for the pilot program showed measurably improved performance metrics. They took fewer sick days, stayed later when needed, and generally seemed more engaged with their work. The cost to the company was negligible, but the impact on employee satisfaction was substantial. More importantly for Marcus, Sarah's entire demeanor at work had changed. She seemed more energetic, more confident, and even more genuinely warm in her interactions with other employees. She began volunteering for additional shifts when coverage was needed, and her supervisors noted that her already excellent customer service had somehow become even better. 3 months after the program began, Marcus finally revealed his identity to Sarah during what appeared to be a chance encounter in the hallway. "Sarah, I don't think we've been properly introduced," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Marcus Chen, the CFO. I wanted to personally thank you for participating in our nutrition support program pilot. Your feedback has been invaluable in helping us design what we hope will become a permanent benefit." Sarah's eyes widened as she realized who she was talking to. "Mr. Chen. I had no idea. I mean, thank you so much for that program. It's made such a difference for my family and me. I can't tell you how much it means to not have to choose between eating lunch and buying my daughter's testing strips." Her candid admission confirmed everything Marcus had suspected, but also revealed the grace with which she had been handling an impossible situation. "That's exactly why we created the program," he replied. "Employees shouldn't have to make those kinds of choices. How is your daughter doing, by the way?" "Emma's doing really well, thank you for asking. Her diabetes management has been much more stable lately, partly because I've been less stressed about our budget. It's amazing how these things are all connected." Sarah paused, then added quietly, "I hope you know that this job, and especially this program, have changed our lives. Emma's teacher said she seems happier and more focused at school too." 6 months later, the Employee Nutrition Support Program had been expanded company-wide and was being used as a case study in business schools as an example of cost-effective employee benefits. Marcus often smiled when he walked through the cafeteria and saw Sarah eating lunch with colleagues, laughing at shared jokes and fully present in a way she hadn't been able to be before. The program had cost Data Flow Solutions less than $30,000 in its first year, but had resulted in a 15% reduction in turnover among lower-paid employees, a 12% decrease in sick days, and immeasurable improvements in workplace morale. More importantly to Marcus, it had ensured that no employee had to choose between their own basic needs and their family's well-being. Sometimes the most profound business decisions aren't found in spreadsheets or strategic plans, but in the simple act of paying attention to the people who make everything else possible.